welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book Win Your Next Hour. No other than Mr. Danny Lehr. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Danny, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Daniel. So, I am a former PE teacher turned entrepreneur, competitive athlete, and author. And over the past 10 years or so, through competing at a national level in the sport of weightlifting and growing a business, I've traveled around the country and met ultra high achievers from all different walks of life. And I learned a lot from all those people. I kind of realized they say the same things, do the same things, and I was able to put that together into a system that I'm happy to share.
Mr. Danny Lehr, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. The title emphasizes win your next hour. Why focus on such a short time frame as the key to overcoming feeling stuck and achieving big dreams?
Well, the thing is, when you're looking at the end goal, that oftentimes seems so far away that people don't even know where to start. So they don't start at all. And so just focusing on one step at a time is what it takes a lot of times just to get started and to keep going when you do get stuck. I've kind of found that most people have something they want to do. Maybe it's lose 40 pounds, maybe it's hike the Appalachian Trail, maybe it's start a coffee cart for a side business on the weekends. But they think that they don't even know enough to start. Where the reality is, you just have to start and you figure it out as you go. And that's what Winter Next Hour is all about. It's about a framework and a system that helps you just take it one step at a time and moving forward so you can accomplish your goals.
How do you define feeling stuck in the context of your book, and what are the most common root causes you see?
Yeah, most people feel stuck. They're just not taking action. Again, there's something they want to do. It's the maybe they, when they're talking to their friends or whatever, it's, oh, someday I would like to. And there's this thing, right? Like that happens a lot. There's this thing that they want to do, but they're just not taking action. They're not moving forward. They're just stuck in maybe a job they're not happy with, maybe in a body they're not happy with, but they're not doing anything about it. So that's what being stuck really is. Or sometimes people start pursuing something and then when it gets difficult, they stop because they feel like they don't know what the next step is. Things get hard and they get discouraged. It's easy to get discouraged easy on because anything that's worth doing, you're going to have challenges. And so when they get to those challenges, they kind of, get a little resistance and don't know the next step and that really causes them to just be stuck right there.
Yes, indeed, they are stuck. What's the fundamental shift in mindset or action your method promotes for that crucial next hour when someone feels paralyzed?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few things here. One is sometimes it's funny is you almost have to lie to yourself. And this is what I mean by that. When I was in high school, I was going out for the soccer team as a freshman. And I had played soccer before, but just with, rec league, city league. Well, we're going out to the first day of practice and the conditioning, it was more running than I had ever done. Right. And I remember just being miserable and thinking like, well, this is it. I'm going to quit. But I said, okay, well, I'm going to quit after today. I'm just going to finish today and get through, and I do not have to come back tomorrow. Right. Well, I finished that day, and you know what? The next day I showed up again. And I found that I've kind of used that throughout my life is that when something gets really hard, a lot of times when you want to quit, you just give yourself, say, you know what? This is it, but I need to just finish today. I need to just finish out this next hour, finish out this next thing. And after that, I can stop. The same thing when I was competing in weightlifting. Training was hard and it was long sessions. And a lot of times, like you just don't want to do it. He goes, okay, I have 5 sets of an exercise and you've only done one. So, okay, well, I'm just going to do this one more set. If I just get through this one more set, then I can stop. And then after that one more, you did it. And you say, okay, well, maybe I can do one more. right? And so it's that method of just kind of one more hour, one more step, one more phone call that a lot of times get people just to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And then as you do that, you gain momentum. You start to realize, oh, I can do this, right? And a lot of times that momentum is what you need to stay encouraged and stay motivated.
One more, people. Just say one more. How can you walk us through one specific actionable technique or exercise from the book that helps someone immediately win their next hour?
Yeah, absolutely. And so WIN is actually an acronym, right? So the W stands for words, the I stands for invest, and the N stands for note your progress. And so we can walk through those briefly. And so the WIN, the W, the words is really important. And you need to use your words and tell people what you're up to or what your struggles are. And that'll actually unlock multiple things for you. People are often afraid to tell people what they're up to because they think that, oh, people are going to laugh at me or they're not going to believe me and that type of thing. Well, what I found through my research and interviewing with ultra high achievers is that that's generally not the case. I've never heard somebody who has accomplished more than you ever talk down to somebody. That's not how it works because they know what it takes. And so using your words and telling people what you're up to makes a huge difference. Number one, it bolsters your self-belief. And what I mean by this is sometimes you're scared to tell people what you want to do because maybe you're not sure if you can actually do it. And so I reached out to Wes Kitts. He's a two-time Olympian. He competed in the Olympics in 2020 Tokyo and then again in 2024 in Paris. And I asked him, I said, Wes, weren't you absolutely terrified to tell people your goal was to win an Olympic gold medal? Like, I don't even know, like that seems like such a big task. And he said, yeah, he was. But then pretty soon he realized if he can't even say it out loud, how can he truly believe it himself? And so he started off by telling his mom and then his high school football coach, and then eventually some friends. And then it came to whoever asked, he would tell him. And what he found was that nobody told him he couldn't do it. Instead, he got an uprising of support. And he realized that every time he said it, he believed it more. And that self belief is so important because without that self belief, you're not going to put in the amount of time and effort and energy it really takes to accomplish something great. And so by just saying it out loud and telling people, he began to believe in himself and was then putting in more work and working harder because it's so much easier to work hard towards a goal if you believe you can really accomplish it. And so just telling people what you're up to will bolster your self belief. It also adds a layer of accountability, right? If you want to do something, you tell people, they're going to ask you about it. So when I started writing the book, Win Your Next Hour, I knew it was a big project that was going to take a long time and a lot of effort. And so I started telling people, you know what, I'm writing a book. I'm going to write a book, or I am writing a book. I'm going to publish a book. And by doing so, sure enough, just about once or twice a week, somebody would ask me, say, hey, how's that book coming along? Hey, have you been working on that book? And you don't want to, look like a poser and you don't want to tell everyone that, no, you're not doing what you said you're going to. So then that motivates you to keep going and holds you accountable. And then the last thing is that people want to help, and you never know how people can help you, and they don't know how they can help you if you don't tell them what you're up to. So just simply telling people what you're going to do, you'd be amazed how many people want to help you out. I a lot of times talk about my friend Erica. She was a barista at the local coffee shop here. And she told me one day that she actually bought a trailer and was going to open a little trailer coffee shop. Well, she also told her brother-in-law, who's an engineer, and he actually designed the inside of the trailer so it would meet all of the, California regulations and red tape around the inside of the trailer. Well, he would have never been able to help her with that if he didn't know what she was doing. She may have either done it wrong and had to redo it, or she might have just stopped the project after getting shut down or after the state or the county not approving her plans. Or maybe she would have spent a ton of money on that. But just by telling people what she was up to, he was able to help her and got her on that next step. So you got to use your words. And that's really the most important thing in the first step. It bolsters your self-belief. It adds a layer of accountability and it gives people an opportunity to help you. And like I said, people want to help.
People want to help indeed. Mr. Danny, beautifully articulated. Very well said. What's the biggest mental hurdle people face when trying to implement your next hour philosophy, and how do you help them push past it?
I think a lot of people, it really comes down to the self belief because maybe there's something you want to do, but if you don't believe that there's even the smallest chance of accomplishing it, then you're not going to take action, right? Again, someone who wants to lose 50 pounds, but they've never been able to, they've lost 5 or 10 pounds and gained it back, and they've done that 3 or 4 times. Well, how am I positive? If I've proven to myself that I can't do this, I haven't done it before, how can I get past that and do it next time, right? And so to push past that, it really comes down to working the system. Say, okay, so this is what you want to do. Well, let's look at this. Let's use your words. Let's tell some people what you're up to. And then maybe if that's not, getting it done or you feel like you need more of a push, move on to the next step, which is invest. And invest, a lot of times people only think of money, but it can be a lot more than that. You can invest time, energy, you invest your pride. You tell people you're up to something. So it comes down to having a point of no return experience. And that's what it really comes down to in a lot of cases. There was a study that I believe Stanford University conducted where they interviewed a bunch of successful entrepreneurs and then they interviewed a bunch of what they referred to as wantrepreneurs. So people who wanted to start a business but just hadn't had any success. And through a survey and a series of questions, they discovered that there was really a line of delineation. And the one question that made it the biggest difference, or that there was a difference in, was, have you experienced a point of no return experience? Has something happened? And all of the successful entrepreneurs could look back and point to, many of them, multiple point of no return experiences. However, the entrepreneurs, right, the unsuccessful entrepreneurs, all stated that they hoped someday to have one. Well, as we know, hoping is not a strategy. And so sometimes there are opportunities out there that you just have to be aware of and look for. And so sometimes it is monetary. Maybe you hire a coach that costs enough money to where the pain of losing that money without the results is greater than any pain you're going to experience during the progress, right? Again, maybe it's time. Maybe the time you spend on something, is that point of no return experience and committing to it. But the real goal is to find something where the pain of failure, right, or the pain of losing that thing is greater than whatever pain is going to cost you to take that next step.
Mr. Danny, feeling stuck often involves overwhelm. How does your method help simplify choices and reduce decision paralysis, specifically within the next hour block?
Yeah, well, the big part of it is people just don't know what the next step is, right? And we see that a lot where people just they don't start because they think they don't know enough to start. Where the reality is, the only way to know enough is to start and figure it out as you go. You're going to make mistakes. There's no plan that's perfect. If you look at the trajectory of, pick any of the biggest businesses, and they all have stories of when they made a wrong mistake. They made a mistake early on or a wrong move and had to course correct. That's part of the learning process. And it's everywhere in life. I mean, if you look at parenting, nobody knows how to parent a kid until you have children and you try things and some things work and some things don't. And we find that in every aspect of life. And so that's a big part of that paralysis and not knowing what's the next thing to do. And you have that paralysis. Really, the key is you just have to do something. And that something you do might be wrong, it might be right, but either way, you're going to learn from it. Maybe you learned that it was the wrong move, that you made a mistake. Well, that's okay. Don't do it again, right? And that's really what it's all about. That's a great leadership lesson as well that I found with a lot of different employees and different people is, I like to empower people and tell them, hey, go out, make decisions and make mistakes. Just try not to make the same mistake over and over again. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yes, people, don't afraid to commit mistake because you will learn from them. As an author, Mr. Danny, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Yeah. Well, first of all, as an author, I just want to get this book out into a lot of hands. I've seen firsthand the impact it's had. It's been really cool, actually. I did a pre-launch, and the pre-launch was very successful. It was the largest pre-launch that the publisher had ever done. And through that, it was a lot of friends and family and everything. Well, I've heard from people that I haven't talked to in years. I didn't even know they bought it during the pre-launch. And one example is a doctor, and he's someone who I used to know. We used to work out together. I haven't really talked to him in maybe 5 years or 6 years. And he reached out and sent me a text message and just said, "Hey, I just wanted you to know that, there's different things I want to do in life, but I always had an excuse why I couldn't. Oh, I'm so busy because of work, or I have this, that, the other thing." And he said, after reading your book, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take these steps. I'm going to go, take on these things that I really want to do. And I just want to tell you that I appreciate, you writing this, because it's made this big difference in my life. And so it's things like that that's just absolutely incredible. So I want more people to have that experience. I want people to, go after the things they want in life, and not just have their excuses why, well, I would, but right, those types of things. So I want to do that. And the other thing is, I really have a passion for speaking. I enjoyed writing the book. I enjoy running a business, but I found that what I'm best at is actually teaching and coaching. That's my formal education. Is I have a graduate degree in education, and I really love coaching. I used to coach athletics, and now with coaching entrepreneurs. And so that's my short-term and long-term goal. Is I want to get the message out to as many people as possible, whether that's through the book itself or through, being on a stage and speaking in front of people and sharing the message that way.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Danny, and looking forward for more success. What would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to write their own book too?
So I think it really comes down to the part of some sort of accountability and some sort of point of no return experience. One of those things. I have a friend, Jeff, and he's published 3 or 4 books now, but he's an author, right? That's what he does. He teaches English, and he writes articles for journals and newspapers and magazines, and for a blog. And so, you look at that and say, well, Jeff, he knows how to do it. And so I could maybe ask him for some advice. But if I just ask him for some advice, that's not really anything that's going to hold me accountable to doing it. Now, what I could do is I could say, hey, Jeff, I know you've written some books. Um, I will pay you to edit this for me, or to read this for me, or even just to ask them about how it's going. Right. And so I think having some sort of an accountability, and then the second thing is a system. So when you would go to write a book, so I went through a publisher, and they had a system where I met with an editor once a week. And that once a week meeting held me accountable. I did not want to sit down and with my editor and have no progress made. I was expected to write 2,500 words a week. And so every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday mornings, I wrote 800 words. And then that's 2,400, gets me right there. And then I'd sit down on Thursday morning, meet with my editor. And then I had the weekend to either take a break or go back and make some changes that we talked about during the meeting. And so I think that accountability piece is really important. And just another side note on that is, you can use this in lots of things. Piano is a great example. I was in band when I was a kid. I played the trumpet, so I know how to read music. We have a piano in our house. And so I could teach myself how to play piano. However, I wasn't doing it. And so my daughter was 6 years old, and she started taking piano lessons. Well, now I'm driving her to the lessons. The friction of me taking lessons was gone, because I'm already there. It's not like, oh, I got to schedule it and drive there and drive back. I'm in the room. It's literally only the 30 minutes of the actual lesson out of my week. And so I signed up as well. So it was fun. I would take like books to read or work to do. And then I would do that while my daughter had her lesson, and she would bring toys and coloring books and do that while I had my lesson. But the reason why that was so important for me to pay somebody and take those lessons instead of doing it on my own is the same thing with the editor. I did not want to show up every Friday and sight read the same song that I couldn't play the week before. I wanted to show that I'd made some sort of progress, and that I'm not wasting the instructor's time and my own. And so I think that accountability piece is really crucial.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Danny. And how is winning the next hour fundamentally different from just tackling the next item on to-do list?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually very similar. The next item on the to do list or the next hour, the main difference is the thing about the next item on the to do list is a lot of times we skip the next item on the to do list. I think we've all made lists and we sit down there and if you look back 3 days later, there's a few things on that list you still haven't done. It's the things you don't want to do. They might sit on there. So I would recommend instead of having a to do list that carries over, is instead you make what I call a power list, which is your 5 items a day and just 5 items a day. And you don't get any rollover tasks, right? This is not sprint. You don't get rollover tasks. You show up and you must accomplish those 5 things. And if you do, you write a W at the top of the page. You won the day. And that's the idea of win the next hour as well, because it's not just the next thing, it's what do I need to do right now, right? I don't have to worry about the long term. What do I need to accomplish right now that'll get me the next step? And I think that is the biggest difference between checking a box and really winning your next hour.
Again, very well said, Mr. Danny. Very well said. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course, my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast, mental health 101 and Low 101. My Love Letters is in third season, and Movie 101 Review is in fourth season, as well as a Music 101. Science 101 in its first season. The same with my Sex 101. So please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Danny, if readers successfully implement your win your next hour principle consistently, what transformation do you hope to see in their lives beyond just achieving specific goals?
Well, what it is it's not just about the specific goal, but it's a framework you can apply to everything in life. And so, just some quick examples. I find myself doing this just naturally now, and I see the same thing with others. And so, an example is writing the book. And it was funny when I was sitting down with my editor, is he made the comment one time. He said, it's actually really fun reading this book as I go through because I'm watching you walk the walk, right? Just as I was writing the book, I was using my own system and I didn't even necessarily know I was doing it. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. And then as I met with the next editor after it's all done, to go through it with another pass through, I got the same comment from him. He said, hey, working with you, it's fun to watch you work this system. And in a more recent example of that is just this last Sunday, 2 days ago, I did what's called America's Most Beautiful Bike Ride. And it's a fundraiser for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And it's a bike ride around Lake Tahoe, which is a pretty big lake. It's 72 miles at over 6,000 feet elevation, and it has 4,000 feet of climbing in it. Well, I'm not an experienced cyclist. My background is in lifting weights. It's a little different than sitting on a bike for 5 hours. And so for 3 months leading up to it, I put these systems in place. I told people, I was posting on social media, hey, I'm going to do this bike ride 72 miles around Lake Tahoe. So right there, I used my words. I bought a bike and fixed it up and did the work on it myself. So I invested a little bit of money, but I invested a lot of time because I'm not a bike mechanic, but I learned how to do it as I fixed up this old bike to get it ready for the ride. And then I note your progress along the way. Every week, I said, I'm going to do 3 sessions in the garage and then a long ride on the weekends. And I did. And every time I did a training session, I would mark it down in a notebook that I did another training session. And so I didn't realize it as I was doing it, but I looked back and realized I followed the exact framework that I teach in the book in order to do that bike ride and be successful. And I showed up on Sunday and it was a lot of fun, made it the whole way around. It was a great experience. But the point is that that's the transformation people can expect is not just this one thing that you want to do, but for the rest of your life, anything that you want to do, you can, right? And you know how to do it. So it turns our life from I want to do stuff, or you don't have to think, can I do it? You just have to decide, do I want to do it? And that's really powerful in your life, is not to have a list of things that you're not sure if you can do, but you have a list of things that you know you can do. And your decision is based on, do you want to do it or do you not want to do it? And being able to make decisions on whether or not you want to instead of whether or not you can is a transformational process.
Mr. Danny Lehr, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So can you please invite our listeners to support Win Your Next Hour?
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So appreciate it. You can pick up Winter Next Hour on. Oh, you're good.
Yes, go ahead. Where they can buy your book, mister?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's available on Amazon, it's on Audible, Kindle, paperback, also on barnesandnoble.com, thrift books, wherever you buy your books, you can go pick up Win Your Next Hour by Danny Lehr. And that's Lehr.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Danny Lehr because if you support him, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Danny, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.